Joel, thank you very much indeed. And it's a pleasure to be here. I must admit, switching this to an online conference, it's been great watching these last 2 days. And welcome to this session, which is slowing down to speed up. I hope you find it interesting as we come to the end of this excellent conference organized by B2B Marketing. I think there's absolutely no doubt that technology has radically transformed the marketing landscape with the pursuit of data-driven, multi-channel, automated, audience-driven programs. But within this drive for greater speed and efficiency comes complexity. And for you all, and for me, the MarTech engine has to be optimized and it has to run as efficiently as possible. It's also important to slow things down from time to time to ensure that each component is operating as optimally as possible. I've taken this approach a number of times when I've realized that the marketing automation setup was simply holding us back. And with the support of an organization called Agent 3 that you can see up there on the screen, I've conducted strategic reviews to provide a detailed methodology and roadmap to get us back to full speed. And this session, I simply wanted to share some of the learnings I've encountered on the way. So who am I? My name's Chris Boorman. I've spent a career in B2B marketing. I'm a scientist by trade. I have a PhD in physics, and many people have said to me, oh my God, how do you get from there into marketing? Well, I think this has held me in good stead throughout my career because I think marketing is a science, and it is a science that uses data to achieve outcomes. I think we're all revenue engine marketeers, and MarTech is a really, really important part of that process. I started out in Oracle as a consultant, then moved into product marketing. I moved to Veritas running channel sales before moving back into running their marketing across EMEA for 10 years. I moved to Salesforce.com where I ran EMEA marketing before moving to California to be the CMO at Informatica and spent a number of years over there. I returned to the UK for family and friends where I joined Automic, a business automation vendor. We were then acquired by CA, who were then acquired by Broadcom. Not the greatest experience at the time. I then did a number of consulting gigs with various companies before joining Forcepoint, where I am now and where I run international marketing. And on the right-hand side, you see the logo of Agent 3. They've been a great partner, and I've worked with them for a number of years. We're working with them today in helping to optimize our MarTech at Forcepoint, as well as running some ABM programs here in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And in full disclosure, I worked with them also at Automic and looked at them as a bit of a trusted partner. So, do we have a problem? We spent 2 days on this conference discussing MarTech. And these are some of the titles of various sessions that we've been enjoying. And when I look at them, navigating the MarTech minefield, taming your MarTech beast, lost in the MarTech stack, I would say that we do have a problem. And at the end of the day, for many organizations, and certainly what I've seen in companies that I've been at, that I've worked with, CMOs of other organizations that I've spoken to, this phrase, reality has bitten. We now live in a scientifically driven MarTech world, but are we actually getting everything we can from it? I think from my point of view, at the end of the day, most marketing automation platforms do a pretty similar thing, at least from the perspective of how well marketing organizations can actually take advantage of them. We all know the theory. Probably few companies I've consulted for or worked with have told me that they are experts. And that theory of marketing, can we actually achieve it? And what is it? So I put this up. At the end of the day, hopefully this resonates. Open the latest playbook, and we're told to build a data-driven, multi-channel, automated, audience-driven program. Yeah, do we really? Most companies do a little bit of social, some syndication, some advertising, search, a bit of nurturing. And we all know the theory, and we're all enticed by the latest technology that promises to solve everything for a fraction of the price of anything else. We invest, we customize, we expand, we reuse, and onwards. And quite soon, we have a complex environment that now we're afraid of breaking, because the people who built it, they're gone. And it's become suddenly a lot more complex. And yet, this is the future. Have no doubt, MarTech and the role of marketing is the future. I said before, I think marketing is a science. It's all about being a revenue engine, working with sales. I've spent my career in B2B marketing. And as such, it's about aligning with sales, working with sales, and driving the business. It also comes down to understanding your funnel, the quality, the velocity, the volume, all the way through the funnel, from the top of the funnel, from awareness, coming to your website, and actually looking down through to close one. And if you do it right, I absolutely believe the world is your oyster. And here is a statement from MarTech Advisor from December 2019. Why today's CMO is tomorrow's CEO. And okay, is today's CMO going to be tomorrow's CEO? Well, I think it comes down to how ultimately you are able to demonstrate value to your organization, to the organizations you're working for, in that ability to help achieve the business goals of the organization. And it's not easy. I love these diagrams. No, I hate these diagrams. At the end of the day, life was so easy back in 2011 when there were about 150 products. I must admit, I cannot believe that there are over 7,000. And I dread to think about trying to evaluate over 7,000. There was a great article that was actually provided recently, and this was in basically B2B marketing. And it was looking at the perspectives on the client side versus the agency side. And I hope that you can see some of these on the screen in front of you, because what I find interesting about this was on the left-hand side, what are the priorities from a client point of view? Marketing automation, growth marketing, ABM. And what are the priorities from the agency side? Customer experience, followed by marketing automation, followed by emotional engagement. Slight mismatch, perhaps. What I also found interesting was at the bottom of the pile, influencer marketing, artificial intelligence, voice search were consistent on both sides of the house. But what I like about this is that it really, to me, encapsulates a lot of what is happening around the MarTech side of the house and the reasons for the MarTech. Because at the end of the day, we don't buy MarTech just for the sake of MarTech. We are using it to achieve our business goals, which are often around growth marketing, around account-based marketing, around enhancing customer experience. And so from that point of view, this is why I wanted to spend a few minutes literally to talk about how we slow down in order to speed up. Stop, take stock, and accelerate. At the end of the day, how one does this, and what I've learned over the years in working for a number of organizations, is that technology has radically transformed our landscape. But within this, that's the need for speed and efficiency is one of the things that we are all driven by. And at the end of the day, how we achieve this, I think, is really, really critical. So, rule number one, be data-driven, not delirious. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is be on top of your data. Control your data processes. Make sure that you can get and that you understand the data. I am absolutely convinced that being in control of your data is a critical part of this entire B2B world we live in. I think of B2B marketing as being a science first and brand is there to help you achieve your goals. What I mean by this is understanding the goals, understanding the pipeline that you are trying to achieve, the conversion metrics at every stage of the funnel. Because when you start looking at the data, you begin to understand where issues occur. For example, I mentioned the company Automic. Automic was a standalone business automation vendor. I was the CMO over there. Subsequently, it's been acquired. And so I'm looking back a couple of years. One of the things we saw was that conversions from web visitors to form fills was less than something like 0.2%. That's not good. So we tackled it. We brought in an agency to help us focus on emotional and emotive engagement. We reworked all of our pages. We reworked how we presented the information to make it more emotive and engaging. We moved from corporate lingo, if I could say that, to human engagement. The result was that our conversion rate of visitor to form fill went from about 0.2% to 7%. Now, I think that's a pretty impressive improvement. We couldn't have done it on our own. We didn't have that emotive understanding, and we worked with a trusted partner to actually help us achieve this. Recently, here at Forcepoint, we were focusing on our digital nurture programs. They weren't running efficiency. So I worked with Agent 3 to optimize them, and we are seeing significant improvements. But the point about this is, by looking at data, by understanding the data, you can then identify where there are areas for improvement. And believe you me, there are always areas for improvement. Don't try and boil the ocean, though. Take it step by step. And whilst problems with lead flow and data aren't too tricky to spot, identifying what is causing them can be. And conducting audits that focus on the technology, the people, and the processes is the only way you'll be able to get a comprehensive lay of the land. Rule number 2, keep it simple. Oh boy, I am so keen on this one. There is a tendency everywhere to add to complexity, but less really is more. And refrain from adding that bit of customization. A recent audit we did pointed out that most areas of our Marketo instance were pretty over-engineered, overly complex. Many had evolved over time. And this has happened many times in my career when I've gone into an organization and there's been a MarTech stack in place. And what happens is we all try to customize it, resist that urge. One area I remember related to field synchronizing. Do you know that when you implement Marketo and synchronize with Salesforce.com, if those are the two systems you use, there's about 80, 85 fields that can be synchronized. We came across a situation where we had over 1,000 fields being synchronized. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question of why? And how did you get there? So a good golden rule for you, I think, is thou shalt not customize. Companies are obsessed with tools, things that tools cannot do, and they need to basically enhance and evolve. Another example, one of my old team moved on to a different organization. They shall remain nameless, and they basically said, we have 4 marketing automation instances, and only the operations team can access them. And they are just full of just complex stuff that has absolutely no value. So we're going to get rid of them all and start again. Because having customized them all out of existence, we just can't use them anymore. And at the end of the day, that's a really, really important thing, I think, for everybody to think about is please don't over customize. Another golden rule, by the way, in this respect is focus on good enough and make the most out of it versus perfection. Combine that with simplify. And I think you'll be well on the road to being able to remain in control. Remember, people leave. Processes never get documented properly. Institutional knowledge leaves. So, golden rule number 3, focus on the problems you face and what you have. Focus on the fundamentals. Understand what you are trying to solve, which is an interesting question. Do you really understand the business problem you are trying to solve? At the end of the day, are you driving revenue? And if you're driving revenue, what does that mean from a funnel perspective, from a pipeline perspective? Don't let technology drive your decisions. Understand what you need to do and then look for the technology, not the other way around. Also, within your own organization, make someone accountable for every piece of MarTech brought in. Often I will see a piece of MarTech that is sitting there and nobody owns it. Strange thing to say. Always ensure that somebody owns. Put a framework around MarTech that everyone understands. Think of the long term, not just instant gratification. Number 4, learn from others. Talk to people that the vendors have sold to in order to understand what reality really looks like, and then take notice. Be aware that actually now may not be the best time to implement something, particularly if you need to get the basics right. I'm a firm believer in talking to my network. I'm a firm believer in asking opinions, meeting other CMOs, marketing leaders, learning how they do things. I often find that there is a different, perhaps even better way of achieving the same goal without necessarily needing to invest in new technology. And if you're going to go and upgrade a piece of technology from something that basically does what you need to something that is a new enhanced sort of version of this, make sure you can take advantage of it. Because I've often seen marketing organizations unable to take advantage of technology that has been brought in. And that's often where partners come into their own in helping. Number 5, make a decision. Make it work. Once you've been given the facts, understand the requirements, make a decision and make it work. See it through. So often I've seen projects that start well and then wane as the next big initiative. Hey, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, we've got to do this. See it through. One of my favorite subjects is collaboration. The world of Slack, Box, Huddle, Teams, Skype, the list goes on. Choose, make a decision, and then make it work. They're all good tools, but you've got to work hard to ensure that they're used well and deliver the value that you expect. And it takes effort in order to do this. And a major recommendation from audits we've run is to introduce the strict governance and documentation. And people hate the word governance. Oh, we can't do governance. That's all against Agile. But believe you me, documenting some of these things and making sure that you actually do think for the long term is a very, very important component of this. Partner wisely. Avoid suppliers. I put some words up here. Trusted. Interested in and understands your business. I've learned over the years that I can't do it alone. My team can't do it alone. I look to partners to come in and help me in specific areas to enhance what I'm doing. Maybe to help in terms of optimizing our MarTech infrastructure, or maybe to do a specific thing like helping me drive a social program targeting specific personas through LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. But there's no doubt partners are absolutely critical. But what I've also learned is that some partners strive to contribute and help by aligning to your objectives, by coming up with ideas to improve. Other partners I've worked with simply do what they're told. Build that email, create that advert. For me, I've worked with a number of partners again and again, not only because I trust them, but because they get involved, they discuss, they push back if they believe we're going in the wrong direction, and they do, what's that word? I know it's a very glib thing, they add value, because ultimately I don't know the answers. My team sometimes doesn't know the answers. Yes, it's good to have in-house skills, but that's where partnering is incredibly important. And ultimately, that's what I look for as far as a partner is concerned, bringing in those fresh ideas, going beyond the technology. Number 7, think global. Well, if you're going to think global, involve global. And for some organizations, global organizations, I've worked for US headquartered global companies, EMEA headquartered global companies. I've been on the receiving end of corporate, and I've been on the giving end of corporate. Think global, and I think really think global in order to avoid duplicate purchases at a local level. It's an amazing amount of wasted dollars. Remember also, we do have these things called languages and time zones. They're pretty important. So building for global is one thing, delivering locally is another thing altogether. Consider all audiences, consider regional nuances when designing and implementing technology and processes. And it's all well and good to get some MarTech technology that helps in North America or helps in Europe or helps in APAC. Do involve the global teams in terms of understanding the technology that is being brought in. Number 8, communicate. Okay, communication, the bane of all evils. It's key to have a clear communication plan that enables the entire project. I've learned that if something goes wrong, it's because of a lack of communication. And ultimately, communicating with the broader team, communicating with sales, aligning with sales, ensuring that your partners understand what you are trying to do. All of this comes down to communication and involving the right stakeholders in the various working sessions. Number 9, build in review cycles. We're almost there, promise. Hope you're still with me. Build in review cycles. What I mean by this is, think about long-term strategy, but short-term wins. It's important. Somebody once taught me, it's important to get scores on the doors. Gone are the days of multi-year, long-term implementation projects. We don't have time for that. Today, management are interested in delivering value quickly. So become agile. Learn how to become agile. Build in reviews. We actually call them hot wash-ups. We had one of the rowers from the British rowing team come to actually give a brilliant session. And he talked about after every practice, they go through what is called a hot wash-up. And we've adopted that. And it's a really good idea. Quick hot wash-up, check what's happening, review it, course correct. At the end of the day, course corrections are important. And becoming agile is a very, very important thing to do. And for the implementation of our audit, we implemented an agile approach that broke the work streams down into sprints. But at the end of the day, it's important to deliver and put some scores on the doors quickly. Finally, number 10, be guided by your revenue goals. So I've had the privilege and the honor to be a CMO for a variety of very well-known B2B organizations. I've worked for a number of different CEOs, and every single CEO that I've worked for, they have a goal that they want to achieve, and that's delivering shareholder value. And delivering shareholder value means hitting the revenue targets, delivering the margin. And at the end of the day, our job as marketeers is to contribute to that. I started this presentation by saying, I think of marketing as a revenue engine working closely with sales to achieve the goals of the business. And at the end of the day, if we don't achieve those goals, then we haven't succeeded. And people often say to me, well, revenue, pipeline, brand, where should it be? Revenue or brand or revenue? Well, I come at it, to be honest, from a pipeline perspective. Brand is incredibly important, but it's a tool to help you achieve your goals. And by partnering with sales and ensuring that you are using the MarTech stack to enable you to drive your marketing programs, your campaigns, to target the relevant personas, to run account-based marketing programs that enable you to protect your renewals and drive your cross-sell and upsell goals. At the end of the day, if your target audience know who you are, then you've achieved your brand goals. And at the end of the day, I think revenue has to be your driver. Brand is a component to that. So I hope it's been of interest. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it worthwhile. Here are my 10 rules for MarTech success. Be data-driven. Keep it simple. Focus on the problems you face and what you have before going for something new. Learn from others. Partner wisely. Avoid simply suppliers. Make a decision. Stick with it. See it through. Think global. Be holistic. Communicate. Build in review cycles. Put those scores on the doors regularly. And be guided by your revenue goals. So with that, Joel, if you're still there, I basically that's the view of Chris, and I hope you found it of interest. And maybe we can open up for some questions or anything of that sort.
Chris, thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic. Really, really insightful, wise, considered. Lots of great things we can take from that. Lots of things I enjoyed. I particularly enjoyed hot wash up as well. I mean, that can multiple interpretations. We won't go there too far into that one. I like the discussion about partners and really emphasizing why, because I think sometimes people use the word partnership and it's just window dressing for wanting to endure a better sense of collaboration. But you emphasize why actually is a different ethos at the heart of it. So I think that's important. Shane's coming to the session as well. She's going to, as you know, she's been sharing the conference as well. I'm sure she's got some questions for you as well. And if anybody else has got some questions, please do use the questions tab at the side to ask them. We'd love to talk through a few of these in the coming few minutes. The one I want to kick off with, I love talking to marketers who are from a science background, because we all know that historically, certainly, as you talk, marketing was the fluffy bit of business. And rightly or wrongly, it was considered that. In many ways, it was that. Do you think that marketing has become more scientific in the last 10 years? Are you more at home as a some of the science background now than you were 10 years ago, probably let alone 20 years ago?
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. It's funny, I had a compliment paid to me by IT about, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. The CIO came into my office and said, Chris, what I didn't realize is how much you get into the data. And what I didn't realize is how much you as a marketeer want to understand the data. And I said, well, yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. I think it has become a science, because at the end of the day, we run awareness programs for a purpose. That's to get people to think about us and come to us, to come to our website. So are your PR programs driving basically visitors to your website? And when they come to your website, do you actually know what percentage you're actually filling in forms? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. We want people to engage with us. We want people to like what they are seeing, come back for more, and buy what we have to offer. Yes, it's definitely a science.
Good. Absolutely. It's good to know that that's one area where it's evolved quite significantly. Shane, I expect you might have some questions for Chris.
I'd just like to say thank you to Chris for doing such an amazing job of managing to summarize literally everything that we've covered in the last 2 days. You were obviously very well briefed and a great job there. But to me, there was something I wanted to pick up, because I think it's something I see go wrong very often in MarTech, and buying it, choosing it, deploying it. And that's, you mentioned about the agile approach. And sadly, I think marketers perhaps haven't learned from their IT colleagues as to how to do this properly. And so I was interested that you talked about the importance of the review cycle. Are there any other tips? Because what can happen with agile is you go and do lots and lots of things.
Mm-hmm. So the first comment I would make is I love your comment that IT have cracked the nut of becoming agile. Okay, that's one. However,
be nice to IT.
and to be honest, yes, I've worked with amazing IT teams. So for me, what does agile mean? Well, agile means actually delivering quickly. And one of the things that I've observed sometimes is that you start realizing that you are not being agile when you see lots of people coming on to meetings and not actually making a decision because they've got to go up to actually get authorization. So for me, agile, some of the things I've learned is small teams achieve more quicker. And ultimately, when you are needing to do things, devolve or push responsibility down. What I've tried to do in my career is, I don't know all the answers. So you build a team of people who you trust, let them get on with it. And if there are things they get wrong, they'll learn. But basically, mistakes are a really good thing. But ultimately, it's all about giving people the responsibility to actually achieve what they have to do. Give them enough rope, if you want to call it that, and help them. Don't let them flounder. But it's small teams, get on, be pragmatic. You don't have to have perfection. What I often see is I'm the person making sure that the ship is going in the right direction. And to be honest, the right direction is sort of there, not necessarily exactly in exactly the right direction. But if you get 80% of the way there and you have energy and drive, you know what? You'll achieve a heck of a lot more.
I think a healthy dose of pragmatism seems to be quite appropriate for this, and I think that's been covered quite a lot over the. I think it was the session with Vicky de Blasi from Cisco. She was talking about the Moo and Me cow app. If you saw that on Tinder for cows, and they didn't set out to do that, but that's what they got to. But I liked your point about agile just mean getting there faster, because actually I think of course that's what it is, but at the same time, it gets, like everything, it gets over complexitized, is that a word, by people trying to make it sound like something more than it probably is. But ultimately, it's about finding structures and means of getting to a goal quicker with less hassle, less cost, and less frustration all round. And that's phenomenal. I just want to ask you also about just a bit about the your premise is slow down to speed up. You've been working in Martech, using Martech for a long time. Was this and a lot of the themes seem quite consistent over the last few years. But would you, if you'd asked to talk about this 5 years ago, would you have said that? Would it have been the same thing? Would you have said we need to slow down to speed up, or would you have said something different, like we need to be more brave? I know it's hard. It's probably a hard question to ask, but have we got to a point where it's so complex we all need to slow down?
I think actually that's a really good question, because I don't know. I would like to think 5 years ago I was sage. Probably 5 years ago it was like, yeah, let's get on with it, let's do more. And maybe it's as a result of having done this so many times. And it's funny because I was talking to my colleagues over at Agent 3 as we put this presentation together, and we were recounting war stories, and it became so clear that I think that particularly organizations that have now been using what I would term modern marketing technology for 5 years or so. Take a look around you and actually start looking and seeing whether or not you've started making this quite complex and what's going on. So 5 years ago, I might have mentioned it, but I think it's become more and more apparent to me that this has become a more and more complex world we're living in.
Shane, any other questions?
I do. I have a question. It's very much about now, and it's something that's occupying all of us. You mentioned, I think, your point 3, focus on the business problems. Obviously, we've got a whole set of new problems. And I think what you've demonstrated to me, Chris, is, the importance of leadership. And I think, have you got any words to share of just what you've been going through and some difficult decisions that you've had to make in terms of focusing on the right thing at the moment?
So you are right. It also comes down to leadership, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, you say there are more and more business decisions. Well, actually, not really. At the end of the day, we work for businesses that want to drive revenue, that want to deliver profit, to drive shareholder value. So when push comes to shove, if you actually start there and that you are thinking to yourself, okay, what are we trying to achieve to do this? It then flows down. Now, I think where your comment is absolutely correct is that there are a lot of ways that we are presented with as to how we could potentially achieve those goals. And really, I think some of these are more esoteric than others. I don't know if you lots of organizations, particularly with software as a service solutions, they focus a heck of a lot of effort on retaining their customers because they want the renewals, and then they are focusing on those to cross-sell and upsell new solutions. But if you are going after new logo acquisition, ultimately how you do that and the way in which you go is very, very important. I think we all now realize in this GDPR world we live in, email marketing for new logo acquisition, it doesn't work. Email's great for customer engagement. Email is good for nurturing. But if you're going to go after new logo, I think we've actually come full circle back. I think many years ago we did inbound marketing, and then we went to outbound, and we went, hey, we can do outbound marketing to personas. Whereas actually now we're actually doing a bit of a mixture of both. We're actually going out to places like LinkedIn and Facebook, going after personas or whatever, but we need them to engage with us. We need them to come inbound now. So it's almost like full circle. It's really, it's such an interesting world.
Yeah, it's and lots for scientists to get their teeth into, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Chris, I've got lots more questions, but I'm mindful that we're drawing to the end of our allotted slot, and at this point, some people will need to disappear. But don't, if you can stay, we'd love you to, because I'm going to tell you about what we're going to do next. I've been asked to do two things. First of all, to remind everybody that that there is a survey question there that we're going to be sending out to you. So we'd love you to fill that in. Obviously, we always want you to fill our surveys in post event, not just to make us feel good. Quite the opposite. We want to learn what we did wrong. And I'm hugely grateful for everyone being so patient for us and so accommodating of the learnings we've had along the way with this platform. There is no attempt to disguise the fact that there are some things we can do better. It's brand new, we never used it before. It's a huge learning curve, but we want you to tell us about what we can do better and what we got wrong. So please do fill that in. We need your feedback to do better in the future. The other thing is that obviously today we've had two tracks running at the same time. Yesterday we had 1.5 tracks running at the same time. All the content will be available to you afterwards. There's going to be an email coming out to you tomorrow, I understand, with some login information. You'll get access to all the content you've seen and the stuff you haven't seen for up to 3 months at least, if not a bit longer. But we might put a time limit on it for lots of reasons. But so please do look out for that. Now, most importantly of all, in a moment, I'm going to ask one more question in a second to Chris before we go. But in a moment, we're going to flip over to, as I teased earlier on, to the a session in the session stage where we're going to have a live, interactive, alcoholically fueled feedback session. And the platform wasn't designed to do this, so we might just break it, but let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. So we're all in the spirit of innovation. Let's give it a go. So in a minute, we're going to sign off. I'm going to ask one more question to Chris, which is coming from Lee Morgan. So hello, Lee again. Lee said, an ideal scenario, where would you put the ownership of data, IT and marketing? Or would you put the ownership of data, IT, marketing or sales? Or is it a process exercised across teams managed by governance? Where would you put? And that's a good question. I've been meaning to ask that one a couple of times today. Where should data sit?
I must admit that is a really, good question, Lee. At the end of the day, if it is corporate data, then I think it has to be owned by IT across sales and marketing. At the end of the day, I've had many debates of CMO versus CIO, and ultimately, in marketing, we will go after cloud-based services beyond and faster and quicker than IT. But if it's actually your corporate data and really it's part of that essence and value of your company, then it should be owned by IT across sales and marketing. Okay. But there's a lot of data that marketing has which feeds into that. So I'd say that your core customer, product, revenue information, that's part of IT's ownership with data governance. But if you're doing various other things on the periphery from a marketing point of view, then you will be in control of that. But you've got to be very clear in terms of how you manage that and own that. And when it feeds into the corporate ownership, you've got to make sure you abide by the rules.
Shane, do you have any perspectives on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those really tough topics to get right, but I think it's instilling in everybody, every employee in the organization, that they all in their own way own the data and have to take responsibility for it, because that's where it can all go wrong if it's devolved too much.
And one final comment. Apologies, I had problems with the lighting, so I sat by the window. Now I've got one side in light and one side in dark, and I know there's been some comments about that. So sorry about this, guys.
It's all learnings, isn't it? We've had various people to me. I'm really sorry if a small child burst into my room at any point. That could happen. I can't jump onto the desk. So we live and learn in this strange environment. So. Okay. Well, look, the session we're going to go into is our intention on the fly is this to be interactive. So if you want to ask a question, make a point, we'll welcome you to stage. You'll be visible. We hope you can come and join us with a drink, whether that's beer, wine, soft drink, gin and tonic, whatever you want to do, be great. I hope you can kind of join us there. So we'll be over in the sessions tab now. So, but if you have to leave us now, thank you so much for joining us. The Army are flying into Woolwich Airport. Now they're flying their Chinooks. They got a lot of noise. They've kept quiet the last couple of days. It's been really good. So, so please come and join us in the sessions function, and we'll hopefully have a really interactive Q&A, a bit of fun at the end of a long 2 days. If you have to go, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time, and thanks to Dr. Chris for a great session to close.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you very much indeed.